is your typical two-post hoist inspection. In this case, we have a forward two-post, 10K. We have already covered working down the lift to do your inspection. Do not miss any parts. There are some parts that are redundant that we will not use, but we'll go through those as we progress. Top of the list is your information. Every time you go to a new hoist, you got to write down the serial number, the model number, where you're at, the address, and the hoist number. The hoist number you can make up on your own, or they will be written on the hoist. In most cases, on a two-post hoist, model number and serial number will be on the power unit side, or the post on the power unit side. So that's where you go to. Usually you'll find a sticker on the post with information on it. Model number and serial number, you jot that down on your sheet. This is very important for ordering parts, as it needs to be referenced for doing all the warranty work, that type of thing, or any parts for that matter. So you work your way down. First one is your 15-minute leak test. This is done halfway through your inspection because you need to be able to inspect the arms with the car off the hoist. If there is a vehicle on the hoist, you can do a visual inspection of the arms and locking mechanisms at the same time. You'll come across shops where they're very, very busy, so there is a workaround while they're on the hoist. Hydraulic system, there is a place to put capacity of the hoist. Again, you'll find that on the sticker of the hoist itself. Write it down. In this case, it's 10,000 pound hoist, which is the lift capacity. Test function, oil level, valves, and hoses are all attached to the power unit and slave sides of the hoist. You go around, checking the valves, attached to the power unit, make sure they're not leaking, they're not dripping, they're not wet. Follow the hydraulic line to where they do go into... Oh, hello. Where they do go into the hoist.
Where you instructing you guys what to see.
Yeah.
Follow the lines.
Follow the hydraulic lines to the various connections. The hydraulic line does connect to the ram and to the power unit. Check both ends, make sure the fittings are tight and they're not leaking. A lot of times you'll find that the hydraulic cables are moist from punctures, so you try to find those. Can't find them usually, but if you pressurize the hoist and start squirting out, that's a pretty good indication that it is leaking. And that is the first section on top, valves and hoses. Mark them off. If you do find that you have a leak on either the valve side or if you have it in the line itself, mark it down as needs repair. As much information as you can put down. It is important to know why it's leaking. That does help with the warranty work. And it gets repaired accordingly. Next section, cables and chains. If it's a cable drive in this two-post, you just cross out the rest. It's not important. Just circle cables. That's what you're dealing with. Check for excess play, amount of wear. Those are the first two. To do that, again, if there's you can't have a car on the hoist to do this. You raise the hoist up. To a comfortable level where you're not working your back.
Those are the locks we're hearing.
Those are the locks you're hearing. Right about there. Lower it down onto the locks so that there's slack in the cables. Take your fingers and rub them lightly on the cables themselves. At this point, you're looking for burrs. Cables are just wound up together, so they will break over time. So looking for burrs, up and down. If you can reach the top lines too, check those up to about arm's length, because this is the main wear and tear. Excess play, You don't want too much play in the line itself. This is good right now. But if you can really pull it out, or if you can see that it's actually not really wrapped around the pulley at the bottom, then you need to tighten up the cables. Next section is cables lubricated and pulleys greased. Now, cables lubricated, pulleys greased are generally on the 4-post hoist or very, very older 2-post hoist. New hoists that come out today, all the new rotaries and Amcos and John Beans, do not lubricate the cables or the pulleys. They're not need to. They're self-lubricating. All right. Pulleys and pins is our next section. Again, with the arms or the carriage on the locks, you want to release the cable. Check the pulleys so there's not too much wobble. If it wobbles too much, generally that means that the bushing inside the pulley has worn out and needs to be replaced. Again, you're checking on both sides. If you have a ladder available, climb up and check the upper pulleys. Same thing. Give them a shake. Make sure that the bushings are intact. If not, then you can just take a visual look. In most cases, if the bushings are worn out, the pulley will angle one way or the other. And that's that section. Columns and posts. We have rust, damage, wear, alignment, and rubbing blocks or guide rollers. Rust, damage, or wear. Most cases you'll find rust at the base because of the kind of solution they use in the shop for what they wash the floors a lot. Sometimes you'll find it's rusting at the base. Keep an eye on it. Check if any a major amount of rust, or if it's really coming off, then make note, and you might have to change the post. Damage or wear, sometimes they will be run into. Mechanics are paying attention or whatever, they will run into the bar, into the column. Check if there's any dents that are interfering with the wear or the operation of the hoist, and that's about it. Wear, same thing. Rust on the arms, rust on the columns, rust on the carriages, dents, or anything that's affecting the way it operates. Alignment. Take a level, put it against the post in the front and on the side. When the hoists are installed, they are level. But again, if they get run into, they could take the level off, and so you have to adjust it accordingly at the base. Rubbing blocks and guide rollers. Guide rollers are primarily in a 4-post hoist. Rubbing blocks and 2-posts are the inside blocks that hold the carriage from wobbling back and forth. Okay? They guide the carriage up inside the post. You can check those visually or just feel, make sure the plastic is still against the post. And again, if you need to change them out, you need so. A lot of times we come to the shops where the mechanics will know this already. They'll see the bits of guide blocks sitting on the bottom that's been broken off. That's pretty much it. You can tell right away if they're attached or not. Okay. On our inspection sheet, we have rolling bridge, wheels free, otherwise known as either a roll jack or the wheels free on a Bradbury. Bradbury are being phased out, but you will come across them. That will be another section if we can find any. Just give them a look. They're on 4 posters. This is a 2-post inspection, so you just cross it out. Don't need to use it. General section, decking and covers. Decking and covers, again, primarily on 4 posts. The covers that go over the pulleys, make sure they're there. And that's about it. Anchor bolts and other fasteners with a torque wrench. You go around to each individual anchor bolt, torque it down to 100 pounds. 100 per pound for pin section. Swing arm restraints, telescoping stops, and pads. That is for our 2-post hoist. Swing arm restraints are I find the most important part of the hoist because it's the safety and the locks and keeps the arms from sliding out from underneath the car. If they are damaged or worn, they need to be replaced immediately. They are a safety issue. To check them, if there is no vehicle on the hoist, all you got to do is pull on the arm, and if it comes towards you, then it's not engaged in the locks, which means it needs to be repaired. There are different types of locks, but they're all self-explanatory. Basically, teeth in teeth. A lot of times the teeth just get worn out. Okay? They need to be replaced right away if they are worn out. It's good to replace all 4 of them, but if not, then replace the ones that are broken. Pads. Most cases, especially if it's a yearly inspection, the pads do wear out. They need to be replaced. We can order them in. We have a lot in stock, but they're easy to replace. Just generally 2 bolts, and that's it. Doesn't take very long to get here as far as pads.
Hoist needs pads.
Yeah. A hoist needs pads if the pads are missing. Pretty much. It's self-explanatory. And that's it for that section. In the same general section, there's wheel chocks, runaway stops, and drive-up ramps. Those are for the 4 posts. If you're working on a 2-post inspection, we just write down not applicable, and that gets it covered. Testing the lift locks is when you're lowering up and down the hoist, make sure that both carriages are locked on it. If they are not, one is locking one the other, generally that means it's a cable inspection, or a cable adjustment to get both locks at synchronized level, which we'll cover in a second. And, alright, function of switches and limit switch. The limit switch, or the limit bar, on a 2-post hoist with an overhead is that up there. All you need to do with that is to take any long object, a broom, mop, and would you want me to do it actually on camera?
No, it's okay. You've got film before.
Okay. Activate the limit bar, hold it down, and press the button on the power unit. It should not activate the hoist. That means it's working. If the hoist does go up with the limit bar activated, then you need to either check the cable tension, or check the switch, and make sure that's all working.
Let's go to the other side.
At the very bottom, we have a section for other. You'll come across things that you might find broken or leaking or whatever that are not covered on the inspection sheet. Write down as much information as you can, like what it is. For instance, if you have a power unit reservoir that's leaking, well, there's no power unit reservoir section. Write it down. Write down the number of the power unit or any other parts that you find are broken. It does help with the ordering process, and get them in and get them fixed. These sheets, the top, if it is an existing client, like right here in Barnes-Wheaton, the client gets the top sheet, the white one, the yellow and pink sheet go back to Anne. All parts, all ordering of parts, all job scheduling and whatnot is all done by Anne. So it's up to her to decide how she wants to proceed with the information that we give her. So the more information we give her, the better she'll be off. And what we didn't cover is when you're doing your 15-minute leak test with your vehicle, all you gotta do is raise it up, take a marker, mark off a line, come back 15 minutes later, put the marker back. If your pen is not on line anymore, it means leak down. Then you check the reservoir, check your cables again, or whatever you can find. Try to find a solution. If you can't, then generally you have to replace the power unit. And that's it for a 2-post inspection.